a happy new 2016. It's Sonic Talk. We're back, a show that discusses all things music, technology, and musical and kind of rambles off-road relatively often, but it's still fun for all. So thanks very much for joining us. Also want to say thank you very much to our show sponsors. Obviously, Isotope are still here, and we will be announcing the winner of the last show of last year, Ozone 7, and also running a competition for you to have a chance to win over Ozone 7 this year. And also, I want to say thank you very much to UVI. The UVI Falcon is the creative hybrid instrument. For more info on it, go to bit.ly/STFalcon. Thank you very much for them sponsoring the show as well. So I've got two guests. I would like to introduce them. I'm going to go with we'll save the reveal of Mark, because Mark often has a hair difference, and he's got a really big hair difference today. So Rich Hilton is over there in sunny, well, I don't know if it's sunny, icy New Year, New England. How are you, Rich?
I'm good, and it's true. You and I are far less likely to have drastic hairstyle changes than Mark is.
I'm getting a bit long. My hair's getting a little bit long here, actually, but you can't really see it in this low-resolution sort of format. But I will, I don't know, there's always the chance of a wig. You never know. Could be kind of fun. Of course, Rich Hilton is keyboard player for Chic and Nile Rodgers studio guy. Have you had a good break over the Christmas festive period and not too many gigs?
Very good break. Yeah, it was nice, actually. Was home through the whole thing, and son was home from college. We got to spend a bunch of time. That was good. The other son's doing great. We spent a bunch of time. And it was nice.
Excellent family time. Yeah, I have to concur. I spent quite a lot of time doing very little. I actually sat in front of the TV, ate well, and did that kind of stuff. It's always nice to have a lull before the storm, because as we know, NAMM is coming just around the corner, so it's going to be a whole world of hardcore physical activity. So I'm trying to get myself in a zen-like state beforehand. Anyway, Rich, very much welcome, and thank you very much for joining us as well. And Mr. Mark Tinley, 2016, the new model of Mark Tinley, who's gone back to his roots there. Well, not your roots, actually. They're blue.
Yeah, they've gone. Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
How are you?
Happy New Year and all those things. Yeah.
Your hair colour sort of matches your acoustic padding slightly. You've gone for blue. I'm sure you said you were going to go pink, but blue is cool too.
I was, but I was in the it's a really girly, stylish shop actually in Street, which is near us. And I was in there with my son, and he said, Dad, dye your hair blue. That would be so cool. And I said, it never works. But I went for it anyway, and it's, I have to say that the Schwarzkopf have brought out this fabulous new dye, which is just as rubbish as the stuff I used to use 20 years ago.
Now, you have to tell me, because we used to have a guy called Cajon who used to do a lot of stuff for us, and he had a very distinct red Mohican. He's now living in Berlin. And I remember when we went to Frankfurt Messe, and we stayed in a hotel together, we had to share a room back then, the pillow went absolutely bright red, and he ended up bringing a towel with him because he was a bit worried about. Are you finding the same deal there, Mark? Is your hair coming off?
Yeah, we have got multicolored pillows at the moment. Yeah,
I guess that's an issue. That's not something I necessarily have to worry about too much. But good on you.
You could always do what Adam used to do. My brother used to stick these huge pieces of fabric fur and mirrors all over his head. You could go for that look.
Oh, I've got a towel. There we go. Not a towel.
Excellent.
That's a new scarf.
There you go. It's very Shakespearean.
It is, isn't it? It's like Byron.
A bard.
Byron.
Yeah, exactly. Now you can a bit of poetry. Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so hot on the poetry. Anyway, great to have you all aboard. Obviously, this year, now we're in 2016. As I say, NAMM is coming up. So there tends to be a bit of a lull. I mean, it's interesting. It goes different ways. Sometimes people release a load of information before the shows to avoid the rush. Seems like this year what they're doing is keeping it under wraps. Although we do know, I mean, there are inklings. You know, we've seen rumours of some stuff from Roland. There was somebody in the chat room a few weeks back, I forget his name now, who was shouting very loudly about a new MV kind of sample workstation. I don't know anything about it, but if that's the case, that should create a bit of a fuss. And I think there's going to be stuff from the big guys, you know. I mean, I think because they've been sitting back and watching a lot of the kind of boutique and the analog stuff, and the smaller manufacturers kind of play, and I'm imagining it takes them a bit longer to get going. So maybe this year we'll see some more interesting stuff. But we'll come back to that, and I think I've got something to play. Now, let me just get my notes up. Yeah, I think we do. That's not it. That is definitely not it. Gosh damn it. I'll have to be this then instead. Excuse me, I thought I'd done all of that. Here we are. This is the Mogees, which is like a kind of pizza pad.
Allows you to transform anything around you into a musical instrument by combining a vibration sensor with intelligent music software. The vibrations you create are analyzed and converted into the sounds you want instantaneously. Okay, so that's cool, but how do you actually play music with an object? Mogees listens to the different types of hits you make and can tell them apart. The more distinct the hits are from one another, the better the software will work. You'll have to use your imagination to find hits that are different enough to be recognized as unique. You can assign each hit to a different sound within the software. There's Muon, the physical modeling resynthesizer, Interpolate 08.
I won't play it all. That has got.
Emulator.
Oh no, hold on. That's not what I'm playing. Sorry, I thought it was playing. I thought that looked pretty cool. I think it's just happened on Kickstarter, and I think what not just happened on Kickstarter. They ran a Kickstarter campaign, and now it's actually happening. It reminds me a little bit of. I think there was an app for Impactor for iOS devices. I don't know, but I know we're all terrible at tapping tables. Especially drummers. I mean, I know that I do. People kind of like fiddle about and tap their knees, all that sort of thing. This looks like actually could be pretty cool, I must say. And you can translate this stuff to specific MIDI inputs and outputs. No, this is something that appeals to you, Rich, or maybe one of your young sons, who's a percussionist, I believe.
Well, they're both grown men, but it appeals probably to all of us because I think people like to bang on stuff and make music. So to that extent, I really kind of like it. There is a long legacy that precedes this of these devices, but I think this thing looks like a lot of fun, pretty cool, and easily adaptable to the existing hardware that people have. And if it causes people to play music together and have fun, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
And I think this thing sort of does encourage a jam in a way once you get it set up.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the differentiation between the different frequency things is a lot more sort of tightly controlled, so you can actually really create a space around you quite quickly by just learning. I mean, it looks like you learn the frequency response and then you assign a sound to it and then you go that way. And I think that's the key probably.
But trigger detection is always a touchy matter of thresholds and overages. Like you really have to have triggers that are in a certain range, or you have to, within the acceptable input range, make it interesting in some way. So it's not, it sounded great in the demo. And, obviously they've got a cool little synthesis engine that has almost nothing to do with the thing you're striking unless they wanted to.
Yeah, I wonder if it's if it would be possible to actually place it on some kind of kit type thing, so you could effectively have triggers that were distinctly different. So, I mean, if you have a cymbal-like hi-hat or a snare-like thing or a bass drum, you could actually create something going on there that would be simpler than having more triggers, or whether it would be a lot of crosstalk, I suppose.
The juggling ensemble, the Flying Karamazov brothers, for decades have worn triggers that they were actuating with the clubs while they were juggling them and making music together in real time.
Okay.
And it's stunning. Wow. It's stunning to see.
Sorry, can you give me that name again? I was just thinking I've really got to have...
The Flying Karamazov brothers. Is a juggling troupe from the West Coast, I believe San Francisco. They were magnificent. They had great stage shows. And one of the things they used to do was trigger MIDI.
Oh, hold on. There we go. I see. Okay, probably not in 1983.
Technology and create music with the clubs that they were, or knives or whatever that they were juggling.
Oh, that's
it was really quite amazing.
That's pretty interesting. Mark, I'm fascinated by your profile now. When you turn to the side, you get the full kind of cockatoo type look there. Are you finding that you have to duck when you go through doors now because it's going to...
Yeah, I did. It's crashed on the door frame on the way in and out.
Have you really got some really hardcore hair gel in there?
Yeah.
This looks pretty cool, actually.
The hair gel's good, actually. Mogees. What's that little silver thing? I mean, it looks
That's
quite well made, but I'm looking at the price and going, well, the
little silver thing is the pickup, I guess, and then there looks like there's this other box here, which allows you to. I don't know if I can make that any bigger. No, it doesn't look like that works that way.
That just looks like the iRig thing that you can use to plug an electric guitar into your iPhone.
Right.
That looks like one of them. So that looks like I can plug my headphones and microphone into it and then plug it into that three-way socket on the iPhone. And I've noticed that the Mogees app is in the App Store and that it's free. So I'm going to put it on my phone and I'm going to try plugging in something else and see if I can trigger it from something else.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And the something else I'm going to trigger it with is this piezo pickup thing, which I bought off eBay for 99p.
Is that, that looks like one of those Korg little hand drum things. Yeah, I see.
Does it?
Oh, okay, yeah, I got you. It came with, I forget what it's called.
Like a clip with a piezo thing in it. It's horrible quality, but
but it might work.
But it's a contact mic, so I wonder if it will work with other microphones, or if you absolutely have to have their input thing. It might be worth downloading it just to try it out.
I'm just trying to see. There doesn't seem to be attached. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any information on the nuts and bolts of it there. I'm just trying to see what. If I hit buy now, will that show me some?
I mean, it looks like you can plug your headphones and the microphone thing into the microphone socket. So the vibration sensor. It depends what that is, doesn't it? If it's a microphonic device.
Yeah. The sensor detects vibrations we create touching blah, 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 the most unique feature. It can learn different gestures. Yeah.
I've been foiled. I downloaded the app from the App Store and it says get started, and I went to plug my microphone in and it says register your device. Registration code. Can't find your number. So somewhere in that box you get a registration code. So so I'm not going to play that game then.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, it does say the Mogees software is also available as a VST AU plugin for Mac and will soon be for Windows. So you'll be able to kind of run stuff there. So that looks kind of interesting.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, it's not something I'd spend £95 on without trying it. So I need to go somewhere to try it, I guess. But hitting things is always good, and I'm getting into hitting things. Have I jammed?
No, you're still there. I can see you fine.
Oh, okay.
Was I not responding? I'm sorry. I've just had an email from somebody saying that there's going to be a bit something at. I
bought this thing. I was on Glastonbury High Street, and I met this man who has a company called Dub Docs. And he's a carpenter, and he makes those Cajon things, or Cajon. I don't really know how to pronounce it.
Oh, yeah, the boxes. Okay. Yeah, which sounds very much like testicles in Spanish, doesn't it? I mean, I don't know if they're the same thing. I don't know, Rich, you might, being closer to Mexico, you might have...
Spain.
To Spain. It does Cajon... Cajones, isn't it, is that, not Cajon. A Cajon is the box that when you tap it, it rattles and pings, and it's the percussion.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay. It's got a snare.
I have no authority on the Spanish language.
Okay, but as you were, Mark.
So the Glastonbury chat makes these Cahones, and we'll call it that for the moment, with a hole in the side to put a mini rig speaker in. So of course I said to Gina, I want a mini rig for Christmas, so I can put that in the side of my Cajon. And then I've been using this piece of software on the iPhone called Brazilian Drum Machine, which is actually really good fun. And you can flip through a whole load of Brazilian rhythms, stick the thing in the side of the Cajon, turn it up full, and then sit on it and kind of get into this whole kind of, Brazilian festival vibe. And I'm trying to learn to play in time, which I've never ever been able to do. So,
is that something that you've got?
We all like to tap things, but
are you? Because interestingly, I went to a party over Christmas. I didn't spend my whole time partying, but I've got a friend who, in the wee hours, we were listening to music and kind of having a bit of a dance, and she said, "Oh, sorry, I can't. I'm terrible at dancing. I've got no rhythm." And we said, no, I don't believe that. Okay, can you clap on the beat? And she said, no, I can't. And we were astonished. I guess it's in a similar way that you might be colourblind or whatever. She's got absolutely no concept of beat. I mean, to the point where she just doesn't really understand. And I've never seen that before.
With me, it's dyspraxia. So I'm slightly on the autistic spectrum, and one of the things about being autistic is some people with autism are dyspraxic, and that's to do with your sense of where your body is. So she's probably got something similar to that. I mean, somebody tested me and they put biro marks all over my arms and said, right, point to where you think that is. And she put the biro on my hand, and then I put my finger where I thought she'd touched my arm, and I was bloody miles off. It's really weird. So my sense of where I am in the world is completely different to where I really am. I'm off by about 3 or 4 inches. So I guess, or 75 millimeters.
You're breaking up a little bit. I have a question for you, Rich. While Mark recombines his bits, do you know anybody who literally cannot hold a rhythm at all? I mean, who's got no concept? I mean, because you get people who are tone deaf, don't you? I mean, and that is a recognised thing. It's just an inability to recognise that. But rhythmic and being unable to recognise rhythm is something I've not come across before.
I don't know of anybody, but I'll bet I do, and I have a theory about why. People just at some point early in their lives make decisions about certain things that either come easily to them right away or don't, and in some cases people write things off very quickly at that point and don't revisit them. And I really have always believed that a percussion education for young people would be incredibly valuable to them, because performing any kind of music with other people requires a level of feedback between you as the performer and you as the listener simultaneously that almost nothing else in your life requires to the same extent. With language and conversation, it's like a one-leveled thing. You can hear the words, understand them, and it's not that complicated, and I'm not singing to you. But when you get into this more complicated feedback that is required to play music in real time, in rhythm with other people, it stimulates something that is very, very valuable, I think, inside of us. And it's one of the reasons why music education is so widely heralded as being a good harbinger for people, even if they don't continue to play music.
Yeah, maybe so. So you think it kind of exercises those synaptic connections, which kind of make you more articulate.
So and being adults, and we're not very good at being bad at stuff because we've practiced certain things that we're good at, and we tend to do those things. So when if you are resisted to it early on, you can become somewhat rhythmically, illiterate or unable to access that sort of level of feedback that would allow you to do that.
Arrhythmic.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Interesting. That is an interesting theory. I'd forgotten. I was going to ask a bit. As you can tell, there are not a lot of news items around this week, but I intend to milk the panel for all their worth from perhaps their other interesting things. And one of the things that I did wonder about, obviously, with the new year coming in, one tends to make promises to oneself or resolutions or not, as the case may be. I just wondered if you had any musical directions or concepts you would like to follow through in 2016. I'll go to you first, Mark, because I just feel a man with your hair should probably have.
Because my mouth's full of cake.
Yeah, for that very reason.
Christmas cake, yeah. I'm not going to make a record with Christmas cake. Do you know what I'd really like to do? Some people know that I've been archiving a whole load of Duran Duran videos, and I've got 16 boxes of videos in my house. And halfway through box number 12, I unearthed all of Nick's 8-inch Fairlight Series 2 floppy disks, about, I don't know, a couple of boxes or so of them. And they're all kind of samples from that period and from the Arcadia album. But I noticed on those floppy disks that the majority of sounds on those disks are original Fairlight Series 2 sample library. When I was walking the dog the other night, I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be cool to just imagine I was in a time machine and I could go back to being 18 or 19 years old and somebody gave me a Fairlight if I could approach Fairlight Series 2 sounds with the excitement and enthusiasm that I would have had when I was 18 or 19, and then write an album, but only with those sounds, nothing else, not use no guitars even, just only those samples. I think that would be an interesting exercise, both in I mean, I'm a miserable old git, so it would be an interesting exercise in generating enthusiasm for something, but also it would be an interesting exercise in remembering how far we've come in like 30 odd years and how much we have available to us now. And but even then, how cool the Fairlight sample library was in the early 1980s. So that's my New Year's resolution over the course of the next year, to write, I guess, at least 8 to 10 songs and only use those sounds and just stick to just that.
Are you thinking just raw samples, no kind of filtering, no synthesis on top of that?
Filter them. No, I might filter them a little bit, or but I think the rawer the better, actually. I mean, realistically, I should use a Lexicon 480 plug-in for the reverb, or is it 244 or 480? And I should probably use an AMS reverb for the reverb, just to get that kind of authentic kind of time period sound, but only use as much filtering as I would have had in a Fairlight. I'm not going to learn page half.
No, I think that would be quite a commitment in terms of
I'm going to use
New Year's
Ableton
resolution.
I think.
Would take you a year, I'd imagine. Yeah.
I know it's a sequence with it, but being able to put all the patterns in order to make songs, forget that, it's too slow. And somebody in the chat room saying it would have been the art of noise. Yes, exactly, it would have been the art of noise. But you know what? I bet there's a million other directions those sounds could be used in, and I bet there's a lot of the constraint of it would be interesting, but the exploration of those sounds and trying to create different things with them would also be interesting as well. So
yeah, I would imagine so.
And maybe, if anyone wants to collaborate with me on that, I'd be interested in that as well. It would be fun to do it with someone else and to say, these are the constraints, let's just see what we can make of it.
Excellent. That's a great idea.
That's my resolution.
So I guess as is the way that these things swing around the panel, and you're the only other guy here, Rich, what have you kind of got any musical type of stuff that you've got going on there?
I don't have anything even close to the magnitude of the ideas that Mark's got. I'm looking forward to playing music with other people, for other people, as much as possible. And hoping and continuing to get to entertain people and make a living and keep my health up. I mean, it's like that for me. I don't have anything specific. I'm not trying to finish an album by 2017. I'm not, of my own. I mean, I don't have some nearly as much ambition probably as most people, but
well, you're kind of there, aren't you?
I'm quite happy with where it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as long as I can continue to do that, I have no complaints.
That sounds like a good one. I mean, I can't imagine there's an awful lot of room in your life at the moment to take on anything much larger than what you're already doing. So, I mean, that's bound to... I mean, I find the same thing myself. I mean, there's particularly this time of year when you've just got the kind of... And now what's happening in sort of our segment of publishing or whatever, there's so many things going on, and there's also so many more shows happening. There's the Studio Stecker, there's the Utrecht Dance Festival, there's the Superboo that's going to be in Berlin, which is the Schneidersbüro event, which is shaping up to be really big, and that's the week before Messe. Then there's Messe. The whole first quarter of the year is kind of pretty much taken up with from now on, just because there's so much stuff. But for me, I would like to try and make more music and create enough space to be able to do that, because what I found, I mean, and I was sort of analysing this over the last year, because I reviewed a bunch of synthesizers last year, and I came up with a few, I actually produced some music, albeit sort of fairly real time, not really produced, but just performed it, I suppose. And I discovered that, that really that's the only time I get it. When I'm with it, have time to review a synth properly, I tend to kind of get into a musical space with it so that I can explore it. And then at the end of that, I might have one or two things that I want to say with it that might be relevant. And I think I just like to try and do a bit more of that. But it becomes increasingly more difficult. I mean, I always thought that when you were in your 20s and 30s, life was all manic and full of stuff. But actually, it feels like the older I get, the less time I have. And I don't mean that in terms of until the end of my life. I mean, at this moment in time, it just feels like time is something that's very precious. So it'd be nice to create some time to be able to make some music, because I do enjoy it. And I enjoy it in a different way than I used to, because I don't know, you guys work in, or certainly Rich, you're still working in the kind of the studio environment where there is a project and there's a process and a procedure, whereas I don't do that anymore. So it's more a question of, if I follow my creative nose and I can do what I like, which is a freedom, but also it's like the blank piece of paper that you end up with that's kind of quite a lot harder to deal with. And I suppose for me, making music was always part of a job rather than as something that I would do in my free time to release endorphins or enjoy myself, I suppose. If that's not too deep.
Well, no, but it does become that, and they say that when you end up doing what you love as your vocation, that you need new hobbies, because chances are when you get home, you're not doing that as your hobby.
That's true. That's a good point. Anyway. At this point, it's probably time to say, well, actually, we've got a competition winner to announce, and also a new competition for Ozone, but we'll just have a little bit of a message from our sponsors, who are Isotope and the amazing Ozone 7 plugin.
Produce rich, full, professional-sounding tracks with the critically acclaimed mastering tools in Ozone and Ozone Advanced. Now, the latest Isotope innovations in Ozone 7 bring modern and vintage processing to the forefront of the music production experience. Updated for Ozone 7, Ozone's highly regarded maximizer features a brand new frequency-specific IRC4 algorithm that delivers transparent mixes with less pumping and distortion. Use it to smooth out an unwieldy mix, or tame the kick drum peaks without affecting the vocals. The Dynamic EQ, now in both the advanced and standard versions of Ozone, lives and breathes with your audio, giving you more effective control over your sound without coloring your entire mix. Harness the precision of an equalizer and the musical ballistics of a compressor in one integrated processor.
There we are. That's Ozone 7 from Isotope, which really is a kind of fantastic mastering, either on the 2-bus or the final processing for audio, or creatively during the actual recording and music creation process. Thoroughly worth checking out. If you go to isotope.com/ozone, you'll be able to download a working copy and check it out for yourself. And of course, we got a competition, as is our want. First of all, we got the winner from last time. I forget, it feels like from last year. It feels like such a long time ago now. And the winner is at Belladonna Took. At Belladonna Took, you have won a copy of Ozone 7. You actually tweeted Ozone 7 and for Christmas, and Happy New Year, dudes, which is very kind of you. So Happy New Year to you, and I hope if you get in touch at Belladonna Took on Twitter, then we will be able to direct the Isotope Fairy, who will be able to give you a copy of Ozone, and I hope you enjoy it. And also, we got another competition for this week, so please do enter. If you want to tweet the hashtag Supermixes, that's one word, and the hashtag Ozone 7 to at Sonic State and at Isotope Inc. That's the hashtag Supermixes, hashtag Ozone 7, the number 7, at Sonic State and at Isotope Inc. Then you will be entered into the competition, and we'll pick a winner next week. Next week will be the last show before NAMM. In fact, we'll have to take 2 weeks off, because obviously that week will be NAMM, the week after next rather, and then the week after that I'll be flying. Or I won't be. I will have landed at 1 o'clock, but there's no way I'm doing a podcast as soon as I get home, because I'll be pretty much fried. But that, in the meantime, we do have a Sonic Talk special, which I hope to get out. Which is, I was talking to Eric Persing yesterday. Very kindly joined us from his one of his synth caves at Spectrasonics HQ. We had a good chat about, the whole of Eric's kind of doings right from way back when he started and all his session. It's a really interesting chat, so I'll get that sorted out beforehand, and maybe I'll play that. I might put that at the end of NAMM, because then that'll be a little bit of treat there, and it could be ready to go. Anyway, thank you very much to Isotope for sponsoring the show. And what do we got next? Let's see here. Oh yeah, the magic ball. This was an interesting idea. This is Gaz actually posted this one, and this is it's a kind of multi-directional microphone, as far as I can tell. There is actually not that much information about it, so we can't speculate too much about what it's capable of. But the idea is that it allows you to stick it in the centre of a collection of people, various different instruments, and then what you can also then do. There's an image here which sort of shows an ensemble playing. And then you can actually separate tracks from the individual players. There are some examples. I have to say they're not amazingly... let me see. I think I just closed the immersive, possibly it was. Immersive. Oh, I'll have to look it up now. Sorry, I closed the tab. Audio immersion. Audio immersion. A Polish company. Thank you very much, Mark. Audioimmersion.pl. It's... Zilia, and the demo is here we go. I'll play this and see how it's not terribly. So this is a collection of people. We got drums and a guitar, and then I think there's just the guitar, which has been processed. It's some kind of cloud-based thing. I'm going to guess this is early days. I can hear some cymbals in there, and then. It looks like that. I mean, certainly no worse a spill than you'd expect if you were playing in the same room. In fact, a whole lot better. I don't know how whether this has a limited use or not. I'm not quite sure how they do it or how it records or anything. But Gaz seemed to be quite interested in it, but sadly he couldn't make it on the show. So I'm going to go to you, Rich.
Okay.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, because there are... the first people to do this stuff. What were the mics that were used? The multi-axis mics that I'm trying to remember. Was it Soundfield?
Well, there's all different. There's a whole litany of different microphone configurations that involve numbers of mics above and in front of an orchestra. So there's all these different techniques, and they've all got names. And one of them was developed in France. One of them they're in Germany. There's just different ways of doing it. But what these guys are trying to do is say you can hang this thing, you can put this thing on a mic stand in the middle of a room. Everybody jams, and at the back end of that, you come out with a coherent multi-track recording.
Yeah.
And they claim that they do this by uploading the data to some sort of cloud-based server where it then gets processed and comes back. So it begs a number of questions. First of all, about the immediacy of that process. Second of all, about the accuracy of that process and how could that possibly work. And I'm waiting to be shown.
Out. Yeah, there are. I mean, it's interesting though that perhaps we could broaden this out. I don't know, Mark. This could be an interesting concept. I mean, if you imagine that you could, assuming you could use this mic to record maybe the output into some kind of encoded portable recorder, and then when you get home you can deal with it. That would make sense, rather than having to kind of bring it into some kind of USB device. it's not clear actually from the website what's going on there yet.
No, I mean, I listened to those recordings, and I'd clicked on the guitar first for some reason and hadn't realized it was a guitar separated from something else. And I was thinking, God, this sounds horrible. And I was thinking they've either encoded this MP3 really badly, or that's just a really horribly scratchy sounding microphone. And that zingy kind of reverb on the back of that guitar sounds awful. And then I went, oh, the drums are missing. And then I'm like, oh, that zingy reverb in the background is like just a little bit of cymbal left behind. And then I'm thinking, like, actually, if you could do that and get that level of separation and then process things separately and then put it all back together again, hang on, doesn't that open up like a whole load of possibilities that we're not able to do at the moment? We are by giving everybody a separate microphone, but we're not able to do it this way at the moment. And I'm always playing around with phase and mucking around with microphones and trying to create different ways of doing things. And I like binaural stuff. So this really, it sort of excites me. I'm a bit worried about the quality of the microphones. I'm sort of thinking if they're that small,
Yeah, that's what I was
they ever going to work as well? But then there is all this new surface-mounted microphone technology, and if they're using that, then it might sound absolutely amazing when they've finalized
Well,
it.
I'm guessing the other thing is if it's 360 degrees and you can actually, mess about with the sound field. I mean, this is something that's kind of, and we've talked about this before with 3D audio and what have you. Sorry.
I don't want to have to send it to a cloud service, though. It's like if I buy a piece of equipment, you sell me the plugin to do the processing, and then I'll process it as and when I feel like doing it. If in 10 years' time I still want to use that piece of equipment, and I've got an old Mac G4 underneath my desk for doing various different things which I can't do on anything else, so I keep my this thing I've got an i7 thing, and in 10 years' time I know that I can still come back to that and use it. If they've got a cloud service and then in 5 years' time they go, oh, sorry, we're not supporting this anymore and we've stopped doing it, you go like, well, what do I do with this thing now? So
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much it's going to cost.
I need to feel safe that I'm supported in it.
Yeah. It's probably a bit too early to say that. I mean, it was more the concept that was, but it does.
The concept's brilliant.
Yeah,
I think the execution's a little bit scary and it's not quite right.
Suspect at the moment, but it does bring a kind of wider story, a wider kind of topic, which is in terms of the stereo mic configuration. What is it that you tend to go for if you're doing a stereo pair, and because some people do the Blum line, some people do the Ball and Biscuit. There's also. I would go to you, Rich. I mean, what's your preferred stereo imaging kind of thing, or does it depend on the application?
Depends on the application, and it depends on how much trouble I want to go to on any given day. But I like changing it up.
Right.
I try not to get too locked into one idea. So, for example, in December, I was up in Ithaca. My friend Alex showed me this really cool way of miking overheads that I had never even considered, let alone seen before. And it's all interesting to me. Put it up. Let's listen to it. That's the most fun part for me. So, can I put an XY above a drum kit? Sure. Can I put spaced pair above a drum kit? Sure. Can I, it's all application specific. I walk in the room, listen, look, as my friend taught me, find the music and put a microphone there.
Well, that's a great idea. I mean, I must admit, I like the Blumline pair and the Ball and Bit. We did a Blumline pair. I think we were recording at Real World, and there was a Blumline pair in the back of the room taking it was Jed. I've forgotten his surname now, but he's the Peter Gabriel's drummer. Absolutely bloody brilliant drummer, and he was just laying down some loops that we discovered. We liked some sounds of this, and he would just tinker with his drum kit. The whole thing was recorded. I think it was 10 mics, but the thing that I really liked was it's the ribbon and the I forget what it is, but it's that sort of configuration, and one's a ribbon and one's a something or other, one's a dynamic or a condenser, I forget which, and you just get this such a real kind of sense of what's there, and it's very easy to then process. And my job from those sessions was to turn those multi-track drums and make them sound like the loops that he was playing along to, and it was really easy because the mics all sounded so great, and then I could just process them, and that's something I found great.
Yep. When somebody gives you a good sound, your job is to not screw it up.
Yeah, or screw it up in the right way.
Yeah, screw it up in an interesting way.
Yeah.
Well, you can do that later, but I mean in the capturing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
The essence of the guy's sound, which you can then, you could tell him to do something different or whatever. You could put up something different. But when somebody gives you a really great sound, it's just so much fun as an engineer because all you have to do is not screw it up.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that's interesting, when you consider these kind of great recording spaces, what few there are left, there are kind of tried and tested methods and positionings for getting sounds that you would recognize as coming from those spaces, or that are signatures on records. And I guess the thing is that perceived knowledge is well worth utilizing, because it takes such a long time to mic and position and get a drum kit set up right. If you're starting from scratch and there's no starting point, nobody's there to say, well, we usually do it like this, or I know this room and this is how you do. I mean, that's the thing that can take an awful lot of time. So I mean, a stereo pair, I suppose, is gives you a good starting point, and then you can spot and get the other things. I know, Mark, you're very keen on the binaural stuff. I mean, but
Yeah.
how about? I mean, I guess presumably because it's compact and it's self-contained, but the actual stereo miking, when you're using maybe a pair of mics, do you tend to go for a specific way of doing things?
If I'm really honest, I don't care about stereo. I don't care if it's in stereo or not. If somebody says you've got 2 microphones to record this thing, if I think it's better to record 2 mono things and to fake the stereo later, I'll do that.
Right.
I'll walk around and I'll listen and I'll decide where I think it sounds the best, and I'll put a microphone there. And if I've got enough cable, put a microphone somewhere else, I'll put a microphone somewhere else, and I won't necessarily worry about the distances between them or any of that stuff. And there's so many good ways of faking stereo now that I don't know. I don't think stereo necessarily represents the sound field
that you need, right,
as well as it could do. So there's other ways of doing it, and you can fake that. You can fake the width. I mean, if somebody's over here playing, someone's over there playing a bassoon and someone's over here playing a triangle, and you've got to recreate that for an orchestra, maybe I'd do something different. And maybe I'd do that cross pair thing. Actually, I'd start there and then see what else I was going to do after that. But I don't know, mono.
Yeah. Well, I was used to. I was used to go for I had a stereo Sony ECM 979 microphone, which is one of the first things I bought back in the day when we were sort of first getting into sampling, and I thought, that and a DAT mic, and I'm good. And actually, as it turned out, it was terrible for recording ambient kind of things, because the handling noise was awful. So if you're walking around, you need a kind of massive shock mount and stuff. But
is that one of the little tie clip looking ones?
No, it's quite large. It's kind of it's a sort of a large thing, about the size of a C12. And then it's got a dial on the back, which gives you the kind of the width of it, and you would point it down, so the width would be kind of going out from the bass, and it was really good for a drum overheads. Actually, it just had a certain something, particularly if you cranked the width to be slightly odd, slightly over wide. It gave it this really kind of unique sound, and I've not had a chance to use it all that much since.
But now we can do that with plugins, can't we? We can mess around with the width with all sorts of different plugins, and you can create the illusion of stereo, and you can create a really nice listening space, but you start off with a mono recording, and and unless somebody knows where the instruments were in the first place, and they're absolutely pedantic about wanting to recreate the sound stage of the band exactly as they were on the stage, and even then that's still an illusion. So I just think that width thing can be faked, personally. Is that bad of me?
I'm not sure if it is. I don't know. I mean,
no, cheating here.
No. What would you use to fake the stereo width then, Rich?
Any number of things. Let's go with something I don't have, which is the UAD Oceanway plugin.
Oh, that is great.
One possible way to look at that sort of situation. There's any number of IR-driven softwares, Altiverb, Colin McDowell has one, Revolver, that will create spaces kind of like that. There are certain reverbs that are particularly good at short stuff. Like sort of the way people used to use an old AMS, and I'm sure there are great emulations of that, and the Eventide 2016. So there's just a whole lot of different ways. It depends on what kind of a result you're looking for.
Yeah, sure.
The thing about what Mark is asserting is true, I think, for me most of the time, in that most things want to come from a single point in the space you're creating, and therefore can be very easily accommodated with a mono recording. But there are also moments where something very simple, like, say, a timbali overdub on a Duran Duran album, I didn't want it to come from one place. I wanted to record it in stereo because I wanted it to be able to sit, however wide or narrow we use it, I wanted it to be able to sit not definably pointing out of one place.
Right.
If you follow what I'm saying. So, and people do it with all kinds of percussion instruments, but you can also do it with other things. And I try to be application specific. I try to let the music tell me what I should be doing with it.
Yeah.
And It may sound all mystical, but that's kind of how I operate. And so like 90% of the time, I agree with Mark. My presentation of these things is just fine for most of the things we do with pop music.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thank you for that. If you want to check it, I mean, the place is audioimmersion.pl, as I very inelegantly didn't find. Thank you very much for that, Mark. Audioimmersion.pl, I'm guessing, they've still got some time to go on it, but I'm guessing it'll come together maybe this year, and we'll see. So I guess the other thing that we've got to think about a little bit is, what's coming up with NAMM. I mean, we'll probably have a little bit more of an idea next Wednesday, but I'm just wondering if, I don't know if we've done this already. It's because it feels like such a long time ago that we talked about that we did a podcast. What kind of thing? I mean, I don't know. Are you Rich? You came over one year. You're not going to be in the vicinity this year by any chance, are you?
I don't expect to be in Los Angeles during NAMM this year, and I'm sort of sorry about that because we had a blast.
It was great fun.
But I'm no great prognosticator of the, predictor of the future, trend setter or observer. However, it is my observation about both the music business and the music instrument business, as it's known, including all this recording stuff and computer stuff, that everybody seems focused right now on creating products for people to use for live performances because there is no studio business left. Everybody's got the gear for the most part. And so a lot of major companies like SSL at AES were showing live consoles. Just yesterday, I saw an ad from Waves for this new software-driven mixing platform to be used live with their DigiGrid interfaces and everything else. We know PreSonus had done it years ago. Digico is becoming a big deal. So I would not be the least bit surprised to see a very sort of modularized live sound focus at NAMM as one of the things that gets presented, of course, amidst the whole sea of guitar booths and amp booths and, a Hammond booth and a Nord booth and,
you've always
besides all that.
You've always got the classics. That's true.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what happens in the guitar world because, like I say, for Music Messer, we're not really focusing so much on guitars at the moment. Because there's just not all that much out there that seems to be innovative and changing. That we had a whole period where there was some great boutique kind of, particularly the amp in a box kind of thing. There was some fantastic stuff there, but it just feels very static. So I'll be interested to see because LA has always been very guitar centric in terms of NAMM, so there's a big guitar area. But I'll be interested to see what happens because it certainly at Messer it felt like there was just getting to be right at the point where you just think, I don't think I can take another blues lick through a slightly driven amp. I mean, you get the quality of the quality of players is a lot better at LA, I must say. So, I mean, it's not quite so sort of depression inducing, But I'd be interested to see what happens in that world. I know, Mark. I mean, you play guitar, so you probably got your finger more on the pulse. But is there anything exciting happening in that world that you're kind of thinking, let's see what happens here, or does it feel quite static to you too?
I don't know. I just think. Maybe the profiling thing. I'd be interested in seeing more profiling things, different ways of profiling. I mean, every so often I see something come out for the guitar and think, oh my God, how on earth are they doing that? And that what was the last profiling amp that came out? That was just totally amazing. That looked like a toaster. Was it?
Yeah, Kemper was awesome.
So, I mean, more things like that. The PV Revalver 4 software is really good, actually.
Yes, that's supposed to be excellent as well.
But I've got a Line 6 guitar also, which must be 10 years old, that technology now, which is really good. It's quite believable when it pretends to be like a Gretsch or a Stratocaster or a Telecaster or any of those things. So it's quite playable, but if I play my modeled guitar through my modeled amplifier and then I listen with headphones on, it feels really weird because I can hear the string before I hear the sound of the guitar in my headphones. So that means there's a big enough delay for me to hear the attack of the notes I'm playing outside of my headphones, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, I understand.
So that means even though it's probably like a 15 millisecond delay between me hitting the string and it coming to my ears. Now, if it was an amp on the other side of the room, we've discussed this before, it would probably be a 15 millisecond delay because it's so bloody loud, you never really notice it. But when you're playing with headphones on and it's noticeable, it puts you off the kind of flow of playing. So I'd like to see all of that stuff just get better and faster. Yeah. And I want it all in the guitar.
Yeah, well,
I'd love to have a guitar with like a really amazing
super
laptop style lithium ion battery that I could just plug my headphones into my guitar. I want the guitar manufacturer to design the headphones and to make sure that there's congruency between the modeling in the guitar and the amp modeling in the headphones, so I can play the guitar and really feel like I'm standing in a room with a bloody great big Marshall stack. That would be fun.
Well, I
don't know whether that's coming or not.
But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing that I find interesting. I mean, because NAMM, this is going to be my 16th year, I believe, coming up. So, and I was talking to Eric Persing, and this is his 31st. NAMM, I mean, that is, I don't know whether they're all LA ones, but that might include some of NAMM's as well, but that is a lot. And he still finds it kind of great because LA is where he grew up, Orange County. He says it's great for me because I see lots of old friends and stuff. And that makes a lot of sense. But one of the things that he was talking about was particularly from a software developer point of view is it's now we're at the point where we need more computing power, because he was saying they can come up with something that sounds absolutely amazing, but you can only get like one note out of a Mac Pro because it requires so much CPU and so much sort of grunt that by the time you've optimized it down, it can't do as much as you'd like it to do. So that these certainly with software instruments, and I'm guessing with emulations and modeling, it must be down to just the sheer amount of power that you've got as well.
I don't think they're optimizing properly now, though, because they're just taking the computing power for granted. So I was playing with one of the Roland plug-out, plug-in things, and I was thinking, I've got a monophonic synth line here, and it's my CPU meter on Ableton. This was the only track I'd running, was like at 45%. I'm thinking, what's it actually doing to stick the what's it called? That thing in the corner, the CPU meter. I'm thinking, well, I'm using half my processing power to play one line of a synth, and it doesn't sound that good. And there's any number of plugins that maybe came out 5 or 6 years ago which emulate synthesizers. They don't emulate SH101s or whatever this thing was emulating. So maybe something that's emulating, say, an ARP, which when I play that, it sounds as good, if not better, and only uses 2% of the CPU.
Well, I mean, I think that's the difference. I think that there is a perceived. I mean, again, we're sort of slightly wandering away from the original topic, but there's a perceived value in having it be as close as it possibly can be, particularly with some of these classic old instruments. I mean, Rich, the people hold these things in such high esteem that to have a kind of it's almost good enough. It's got the same architecture, therefore it'll be fine. It's not quite what we demand as punters. I think we want that feeling that we get, which is very difficult. I mean,
feeling is important.
Yeah,
it's the feel.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were asking Rich that, and I just
no, go for it, Mark. Yeah, here.
It's all about feel. It's not music's not about. I mean, I'm an audio guy, but when I play music, I'm not an audio guy. It's all about how it feels. It's like I want to really get into the grind and groove of that thing when I play the guitar. It's not about, oh, that sounds great. It's like, I feel like a god because it sounds great.
Yeah.
It's so
that's a very complex
end of it.
It's a very complex set of things, because I mean, somebody will produce a synth that on paper has all the right specifications, and it might be a hardware thing, and then somebody produce something that's maybe less specified, but somehow they get some part of it right that's hard to figure out what it is, but it makes you feel more connected with it. Anyway, that's by the by. But that's so NAMM is coming up. I mean, like I say, I think there's going to be new stuff from some of the big guys, and we're trying to. I mean, they're keeping very tight-lipped, I must say. And obviously, let's make no bones about it, I am under NDA for some of these guys, so I couldn't say anything even if I wanted to. So let's just get that out of the way, because I don't want to go to prison or anything. Certainly, that would be rough, wouldn't it? Yeah, you turn up and you show your visa and they go, are. We've been expecting you. Come with us, and that's that. Yeah.
Come along now.
Yeah, exactly. But there is.
So can I ask you one thing?
Yeah.
Are there going to be some really exciting things happening that nobody's expecting? Because you don't have to give anything away by answering that.
I'm not sure that's the case.
People are going to go, wow, what the?
Not that I know of. I know of a few things, and none of them are necessarily, this is a complete game changer, to use that, coin that terrible phrase. Not as far as I know. I mean, there are some big releases, so it'll be interesting to see, and that's going to be kind of what it comes down to, really, in that respect. So I can't, I don't know, but the other stuff that I don't know about, that's probably going to be of more interest, because I don't know. One thing that I do know, and this is Eric said on record, is they won't be Spectrasonics aren't showing anything specific now at NAMM, but that 2016 is going to be a big year for them, and not necessarily in the way that anybody would expect. Make that of what you make of that what you will, I think was the right way around to say that. But yeah, so as usual, NAMM, we're going to fly out Tuesday week, and we'll be there for the week. I get a couple of days off at the end, and then come back and all sort it all out and everything. But it's going to be good fun. I'm looking forward to it. Although at this time of year, I always just, my head is full of, is everything working as this going? And I've got various different technical issues to solve before we actually get to the place, which can you imagine, Rich, some of these people are out at CES now and we always see the guys from IK Multimedia, and they by the time you get to them at NAMM, they've been at CES for a week and it's like, what, 3 or 4 days? Have you ever been to CES? I've never been. I'd love to go.
I've not.
It's supposed to be mental. Absolutely, crazy.
And the reports I'm seeing about things that are being shown this year are quite interesting. So,
what have you seen specifically? Anything kind of?
I saw an LG ultra high def screen that you could roll up like wrapping paper.
Yes, we posted something on that yesterday. It's an 18-inch. It's 18-inch. It's at the moment. It's actually not ultra high def. It's 1200 by 800, but they reckon they can go to 4K. You can't fold it yet, because obviously that would break pixels, but it looks amazing. You see it looks a bit like one of those transparencies that you would put on a projector, but when you fold it up, the image stays on it. It's kind of crazy, but that could be kind of interesting for sure.
And I expect a lot of interesting 3D printing products and more materials that people can use, and I expect that business to take off on some level, shooting for some sort of commonality in the consumer market, where just like you own, chances are a TV in your home, you would have one of these, or just like you would have bought a printer with your computer before.
Yeah. I think you're right.
They're right now, they're still up in the $3,500 world, and for anything,
Well, God, you think about how much printer ink costs. Imagine how much 3D printer ink is going to cost. That's like a whole world of money making machine. Maybe you could use a 3D printer to print your own 3D printer ink. That would be pretty cool, awesome.
Or your own 3D printer is the speculation.
Super
Can
meta.
the thing self-replicate?
Super meta. Yeah.
I noticed that every time I watch anything on catch-up TV now, that all of the adverts in between the main program that I'm watching all seem to be about smart technology in the home. And there's this one woman who keeps coming on, and she's forgotten to turn off the iron or something. She does something on her phone, and she goes, "Oh, it's okay, it's off now." But that seems to be there seems to be a big push on this whole automating your entire home and being able to control everything from some X. What was it called before? X something, wasn't it? I can't remember.
I remember what you're talking about, though. I know exactly the system you're talking about.
Be interesting to see if they can marry those two technologies, wouldn't it? I mean, imagine being able to annoy your neighbours while you're out.
So, I'm sure that's possible. All you got to do is create an extremely difficult to navigate front path, put a load of junk in the front garden. It's pretty straightforward. Just being.
No. I mean, you're out.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I've gone to my I don't know, my best friend's in Leeds for a christening for their baby, and then I just on my iPhone I just put on stereo really loud 909 kick drum.
Yeah, Put it on a timer.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what, there is one thing that I'm hearing rumours of as well, and this I don't know anything about this. I've actually I've sent out a few emails to see, but there is talk of Mark Rossum, who was one of the original designers of the EMU modular system, is working on something which is going to be in the kind of in the modular arena, and that could be very interesting because those early EMU modulars were very rare, very desirable, which I guess means that most people don't even know whether they sounded any good or not. But they, by all accounts, they did. I know, Rich, did you ever get a chance to touch an EMU modular or kind of hear what it was like in the flesh?
Nope.
Ah, okay.
Never touched an EMU modular.
I never touched an EMU, officer.
However, yeah, right. I never laid a hand on it, Your Honor. However, I do have an album of Patrick Gleason, who used to be a synthesist for Herbie Hancock and was actually, I think, a professor in San Francisco, who did a rendering of Holst's The Planets entirely on an EMU modular, and it sounded fantastic. It was a really great recording. And it was far less flashy to say than Tomida's interpretation.
That seems to be a benchmark, doesn't it? Because I did a piece with there was a guy. It must have been 6 or 7 years ago, at least. It was certainly before we moved into this place. I forget the guy's name. And we did he was doing kind of MIDI renditions of Holst the Planets and sort of synthesis versions of it, and some of them are great. And it seems to be a kind of a thing that one aims for if you're into doing that kind of thing. Very difficult, I'd imagine, but it looks like kind of fun.
Oh yeah, it's got to be really hard, especially if you're going to try to get the whole thing out in one synthesis instrument.
Yeah.
An analog synthesizer. You know, it's really ambitious, and he did a great job.
Excellent.
I just Googled that, and he did that in 1976.
Wow.
Okay.
According to this.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's Tomita.
Oh, Tomita.
Oh, no, Patrick Gleason. Sorry.
Yeah, Gleason did it around then.
Holst. Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to be able to.
You know, and in Holst Trivia World, I have a recording of Holst conducting the Planets in 1927.
Wow.
And it's really interesting to listen to because he doesn't take it the same way as we do now in many areas.
I just imagining it sounds like kind of like when you see old movies and everything's sort of sped up. Is it all faster?
But it is. But I've checked the pitch, and the pitch is correct. So, for example, the first movement, which typically starts these days, ba-ba-da-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba, like this sort of ponderous pounding thing. He's at like he's like zipping, and it's in pitch, so it's not been sped up, and it was recorded probably through a horn directed disc based on the way it sounds.
That's interesting.
It actually sounds remarkably good.
Do you think that's because this is actually episode 432, so 432 hertz, that kind of whole thing between the A's? Maybe there's a tempo reference as well that we need to, that has changed.
What if,
and we don't realise it? Mark?
What if the tempo reference is we've got to fit this into 45 minutes to fit it on this disc?
I think that's quite
so we need to play it faster to get the whole thing on there.
You can imagine that being the case, can't you? Yeah.
Yeah, so they've had to speed it up slightly.
There were like 5-minute movements.
Is it? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the planets in general are movements that last between 3 and 5 minutes long, and there's like 8 of them or something. So you would have had that.
Minutes,
those days, you would have cut
minutes
each
is on
one
the
to
side
a
of a
separate
78, though.
Yeah, well, they would have been separate. Yeah, I suppose. Okay. That's an interesting concept and thought. But yeah, I'm sure that must have been the case at some points. You know, I mean, Tin Pan Alley must have been making songs that could definitely fit on wax cylinders or whatever the recording medium was. I mean, in the same way that, you know, albums in the, going over the one platter mark was always, the record company would be going, no, it has to be under. We're not doing a double album. You know, that's not happening, kind of thing. And I guess with the CD, it's the same thing, 74 minutes or whatever. They can get more of that on there, can't they? But yeah, I'm sure formats would have made some sort of impact. Who knows? That's interesting. Great. Well, anyway, that sounds like a good time to stop. Thank you very much for hanging out today. Hopefully next week we'll have another show as well. We might have some more NAMM information, and I certainly do hope so. But that's it for this week. Thank you very much indeed. I want to say thank you, Mark. Your hair has remained erect throughout. It's got whatever you're using is doing a fantastic job of keeping you up, as it were.
Well, I'll find out what it is and we'll get them to sponsor the show. How about that?
Yeah, brilliant. I'm sure like any of those kind of guys are going to have buckets of money, I'd imagine. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can keep.
And
I'll tell you what. You keep all of it. We'll get 10%. That'd be fine if you could work out that deal. But thank you very much, Mark. Pleasure having you.
Okay, you're very welcome, and Happy New Year to everyone in the chat room, and some other stuff that people should say at the end of things to say farewell.
Thank you, Mark. And also, Rich Hilton over there. I'm glad to hear your voice is recovering. Hope you're in fine fettle shortly when you have to. You haven't got any singing gigs coming up soon, have you? Are you going to keep... No,
I've canceled all of my opera dates for the next month or two.
Yes, that's probably very wise. You don't want to damage your vocal cords.
No, absolutely not.
But Rich, thank you very much as well. I hope you now. Are you back at work now, or are you kind of? I guess you don't. Yeah, you don't do a Christmas. Isn't quite as long a break as it is in the UK.
I actually had a really nice break, and very thankful for that.
Excellent. Well, that's it. Anyway, thank you very much.
And thankful to be here.
Yes, and thank you to having as well. That's it for this week. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. That was Sonic Talk number 432. Hey, that's the ruler on the end of a table kind of gag. I also want to say thank you very much to our sponsors. Don't forget, if you want to join, if you want to win the Isotope Ozone 7, if you go... you go to join Twitter if you're not already on it. Tweet the hashtag Supermixes and the hashtag Ozone7 to @SonicState and @Isotope Inc. That'll enter you in the competition. And also, thank you very much to UVI. And don't forget to check out Falcon, which is their fantastic new instrument. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.